Hey guys, welcome back everybody for another YouTube video. This is going to be a video that I felt was important to do. We typically don't make videos at this sort of time, but I really wanted to address a lot of what I'm seeing on Twitter and over the internet involving Tether. For those of you that don't know what Tether is the third largest cryptocurrency in terms of market cap. And Tether is essentially a stable coin, the largest stable coin in the entire crypto space. And essentially today there's been lots of speculation in regards to Tether being unsecure and essentially losing its $1 peg. So the idea of a stable coin is that it's pegged to whatever currency it's trying to represent. So in Tether's case, the US dollar. And today you did actually see Tether lose that one-to-one peg for the US dollar. This is Tether versus the US dollar. We're going to sort of unpack this, really get to the bottom of it. I've been in the space for a long time now, long enough to have a receding hairline. And essentially, you know, this is not out of the ordinary to see this on Tether. Certainly whenever there's any kind of real market volatility, because there's obviously a mechanism to redeeming Tether for US dollars. And when this gets pushed, you know, that there's a little bit of a wobble. It's not a kind of 100% all the time perfect peg. That kind of technology still hasn't been, or that kind of model still hasn't been, you know, came up with yet. And this is very common for everything. So every single time we've seen any kind of capitulation, just putting this to the daily time frame, you know, you can see all these wicks are days where essentially, you know, you've lost the peg to one way or the other. And the last time we saw something similar to this was actually back in May 2020, which I would guess would have probably been a pretty volatile day. So you can see actually, yeah, indeed, you know, May 2020 was a volatile day. That's the last time it lost its peg. It did regain it. You know, Tether constantly gets footed. I don't think I've seen a capitulation where, you know, Tether hasn't come up in question in terms of losing its peg. And this far, it's really proven itself. That's not to say that it never will lose its peg. And by lose its peg, probably the best thing for me to say is have a sustained loss of its peg. But thus far, it's all been FUD. And from what I can see so far, yes, it lost its peg, but it has now regained or is exceptionally close, 0.001%, or I should say, sorry, 2% off getting back to its peg. And I think a lot of this started, and a lot of the rumors about this was essentially because Alameda, which we know are attached with FTX, essentially there was some stuff coming out from Justin Sun talking about the fact that they were dumping USDD. And actually, USDD is the one that has actually lost its peg. And this is on the daily and is actually continuing to stay below its $1 peg. You can't have an unstable stablecoin, ladies and gentlemen. This is what sort of really kicked and spiraled the USD or UST, sorry, which was Lunar stablecoin fiasco off. So this is the one that has lost its peg. Tether thus far is actually doing very, very well. Yes, it's seen a reduction. Could this have come from Alameda essentially trying to get liquid, get out of any sort of crypto? You know, and we know that certainly the speculation at the moment is that they're doing that with USDD, which is Tron stablecoin, Justin Sun's stablecoin. And we know we have had news and actual official news that there's been Tether freezed $46 million worth, and this is supposed to be linked to FTX and Alameda. So maybe they were trying to dump it. You know, maybe they froze this actually due to investigations. We have now found out that FTX were actually playing with people's money. So when you deposited your money to FTX, they were gambling it. And actually, we found out that the leverage ratio that they had was 1.7. So they had essentially, you know, not double leverage, but they still had some. It wasn't insane leverage, but it was still leverage. And of course, I don't think people have learned their lesson that you cannot leverage something that is as volatile as crypto in a bear market. In a bull market, sure, you can get very rich off doing it, but in a bear market, it's not a good idea. So thus far, this was something from DB. Tether begins freezing FTX USDT at the request of law enforcement while investigations occur. Tether exec. So this is going to have come from, you know, it's natural that this is probably going to happen, certainly given the heat that they're coming under. We have heard from Sam Bankman-Fried today. But as of right now, I'm not saying that Tether's never going to lose its peg. I prefer stable coins like USDC, which are backed by BlackRock, and of course Binance. You know, we've seen CZ really show his strength during this market. And even though there's always an unforeseeable circumstance, you know, when you're in stable coins. You know, I like stable coins because as somebody that lives in the UK, you guys know that we've been in dollars for, you know, the best part of a year now, because we've seen that the pound was weak, and it's an easy way for us to get dollar exposure. But you know, there's never 100% guarantee with these. Remember that. But then there's also never 100% guarantee, I don't think, with currency in general. You know, but maybe there's a little bit more of a guarantee as they're backed by violence. I mean, the government, sorry. So yeah, just an important video I thought was important to get out there. So far, the Tether, everything about Tether, you know, it's regained its peg. Yes, it did lose it, but people love to jump on the bandwagon and really start footing it. And like I say, I've been here for a long time and seen consistently Tether getting footed. That doesn't mean that there isn't something more that grows out of this. Make sure you stay safe out there. Again, I'll give you the stable coins that I most like, but there's no guarantee with them. That's BUSD from Binance and USDC. But as of right now, I still do hold Tether in my trading accounts. You know, I'm not looking to move it in fear that it may can have a prolonged period of losing its peg and then cause a sort of cascade. As it looks right now, it's really USDD that's lost its peg to the dollar, or certainly the other stable coins. I can't find a chart which is USD against the dollar. Actually, I'll tell you what I can do before I love and leave you all. Let's bring him up. Yeah, so it is down on here. You can see that's definitely a peg loss. So the difference really here is that this hasn't recovered, whereas Tether has. Tether, you know, it's very common it does this. This isn't the worst peg loss that we've seen. And you can see, you know, that they are actually quite frequent, and usually 9 times out of 10 turned out to be, 10 times out of 10 thus far have turned out to be nothing more than FUD speculation and a bit of panic hitting the market. All I've got for you in this one, guys. If you enjoyed the content, like us, would appreciate it. So as a comment. Catch you all in the next YouTube video.